The celebration in New Meridian's main square was modest but cheerful. Colorful lights hung between the buildings and the smell of grilled food filled the evening air. Children ran between the tables while adults talked and laughed. It was the colony's 50th anniversary, and despite being so far from Earth, the people wanted to mark the occasion. Maria Chen stood at the edge of the square, watching the festivities with a smile. As the colony's director, she had spent months organizing this event. New Meridian wasn't much compared to Earth's great cities, but it was home to 2 million people who had built something real on this distant world. They had farms, mines, research stations, and families. They had a future. Her personal communicator buzzed. Maria glanced at the screen and frowned. It was from the orbital station, marked urgent. She stepped away from the noise and answered. "Director Chen, we have a situation," the watch officer said. His voice was tight. Unknown vessels just appeared at the edge of the system. Multiple contacts. Very large. Maria's stomach dropped. "How many?" "We're still counting. At least 100 so far. They're not responding to hails." She looked back at the celebration, at the children playing, at the people enjoying their one night of happiness. "Send out a system-wide alert." "I'm heading to the command center now. Get me everything you have on those ships." The walk to the command center took 10 minutes. By the time Maria arrived, the mood in the room was grim. Screens showed sensor data and projections. The unknown fleet was massive and moving toward them with clear purpose. "We've identified them," her security chief said. "They're Krath, the insectoid species from the outer reaches." Maria knew about the Krath. Everyone did. They were aggressive, expansionist, and they took what they wanted. Entire colonies had vanished after Krath encounters. The Galactic Council had condemned them repeatedly, but words meant nothing to the Krath Dominion. "Why would they come here?" Maria asked. "We're nobody, just farmers and miners." "The mineral deposits," her chief geologist said. "The rare earth elements in our northern continent, they're worth a fortune on the galactic market." A communication request came through. Maria accepted it, and her main screen filled with the image of a Krath commander. He was massive, with dark chitinous armor and multiple eyes that gleamed with cold intelligence. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. "Human colony. This world now belongs to the Krath Dominion. You have 2 options. Evacuate immediately, and we will allow your transport ships to leave. Or resist, and we will cleanse this planet of all life. You have 96 hours to decide." The screen went dark. The command center was silent. Maria looked around at her team. She saw fear, anger, and desperation in their faces. "Send distress signals," she ordered. "Earth, the Galactic Council, every colony within 50 light years. Tell them what's happening. Tell them we need help." The communications officer worked quickly, then looked up. "Signals sent on all channels, Director. Emergency protocols." Now came the waiting. The first response came from the Galactic Council within an hour. Maria read the message with growing disbelief. "The Galactic Council acknowledges your distress. We are consulting with member species about appropriate responses. We encourage both parties to seek peaceful resolution. The Council stands ready to mediate if requested." "Mediate?" Maria's security chief shouted. "They're talking about mediation while a fleet of killers sits at our doorstep." More responses trickled in. The Valerian Consortium expressed sympathy, but noted they had non-aggression pacts with the Krath. The Centauri Alliance suggested evacuation as the most practical option. The Andromedan Union reminded them that military intervention in border disputes required a council vote, which could take weeks. Earth's response came 6 hours after the initial distress call. Maria opened it with shaking hands. Message received. "Evaluating options. Stand by," that was all. 4 words after 50 years of loyalty to Earth. 4 words for 2 million human lives. Maria sat in her office and put her head in her hands. No help was coming. The Galactic Council wouldn't act. The neighboring species wouldn't risk war over a remote human colony. And Earth, their homeworld, was evaluating options. They were alone. She called an emergency meeting with all department heads and former military personnel. The room filled quickly. When everyone had arrived, Maria stood and addressed them. "I won't lie to you. I've contacted everyone I could. The Galactic Council won't help. Our neighbors won't help. Earth hasn't committed to anything." She paused, looking at each person. "No help is coming. We're on our own." The silence was heavy. "So what do we do?" someone asked. Maria straightened her shoulders. "We fight. We have 3 patrol boats, 12 orbital defense platforms, and about 200 people with military experience. It's not much against a Krath fleet, but it's what we have. A former Earth Navy officer named Marcus spoke up. Director, those patrol boats are 40 years old. The platforms are designed for pirates, not warships. Will last maybe an hour in a real battle. Then we make that hour count, Maria said. We evacuate non-combatants to the underground mining complexes. We set up resistance cells. We make the Krath bleed for every meter of ground. Maybe they'll decide we're too much trouble. Maybe someone will see us fighting and shame them into helping. Or maybe we just make sure that if New Meridian falls, the galaxy remembers we didn't go quietly. Over the next 72 hours, the colony transformed. Civilians who had never held weapons trained with hunting rifles and mining tools, converted into improvised arms. Engineers rigged explosives from mining charges. Every shuttle and transport was used to move children and the elderly into the deep mining tunnels, where they might survive an orbital bombardment. The 3 patrol boats prepared for their mission. Their captains knew it was suicide, but they volunteered anyway. Someone had to slow down the Krath vanguard long enough for the ground defenses to prepare. Maria watched the Krath fleet move steadily closer. Each hour brought them nearer to New Meridian. Each hour that passed without reinforcements made the outcome more certain. On the final night before the attack, Maria stood on the roof of the command center and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the world her grandparents had left 50 years ago. She had always believed that Earth would protect its colonies, that being human meant something, that they were all connected regardless of distance. She had been wrong. The Krath fleet reached orbit at dawn. Their ships blocked out the sun, massive and dark and terrible. The orbital platforms opened fire first, their weapons flashing in the darkness. The 3 patrol boats charged forward, their captains screaming defiance over the communication channels. Maria watched it all from the command center. She watched the patrol boats die, taking Krath cruisers with them in brilliant explosions. She watched the platforms fall one by one, overwhelmed by superior firepower. Then the Krath began landing troops, and the real war began. Maria picked up a rifle and headed for the surface. If New Meridian was going to fall, she would fall with it. No help was coming, but they would fight anyway. They would make the Krath remember the name New Meridian. They would show the galaxy what humans did when abandoned. They would show them all. The first Krath dropships landed in the northern sector, far from the main population centers. Maria watched from the command center as the insectoid soldiers poured out like ants from a disturbed nest. They were efficient and organized, establishing a perimeter within minutes. Marcus, the former Navy officer who now commanded their militia forces, studied the tactical display. They're setting up a forward base, probably planning to sweep south toward the capital once they have enough forces on the ground. How long do we have? Maria asked. Maybe 24 hours before they move, 48 before they reach us. He looked at her. We need to slow them down. The militia launched their first attack at midnight. 300 volunteers with rifles, explosives, and borrowed mining equipment hit the Krath base from multiple directions. It was chaos and fire and desperation. They destroyed several landing craft and killed dozens of Krath soldiers before retreating into the forests. The cost was high. 50 humans died in that first raid, but they had proven something important. The Krath could bleed. In the underground shelters, the civilians listened to the battles above. Parents held their children and tried to explain why the ground shook, why the lights flickered, why everything they knew was falling apart. The children asked questions that had no good answers. When would help arrive? When could they go home? Why was this happening? Maria visited the shelters when she could, trying to give people hope. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. How could she offer hope when she had none herself? On the second day of fighting, the Krath commander broadcast a message to the entire colony. His face appeared on every screen, his mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. Humans, your resistance is pointless. We have 187 warships in orbit. We have 50,000 soldiers on the ground with more landing every hour. You have nothing. Surrender now and we will be merciful. Continue fighting and we will erase every trace of your existence from this world. Maria broadcast her own response. This is Director Chen of New Meridian. We don't surrender. We don't run. You want this planet? You'll have to take it over our bodies. Every meter, every building, every life you take will cost you 10 of your own. Come and try. It was probably stupid to provoke them, but Maria didn't care anymore. If they were going to die, they would die fighting. The Krath accepted her challenge. Their forces began a systematic advance, moving slowly and carefully, expecting traps at every corner. They were right to be careful. The humans had turned their colony into a maze of improvised defenses. Buildings rigged to explode, streets seeded with mines, snipers in every tower. The battle for New Meridian became urban warfare at its worst. The Krath had better weapons and more soldiers, but the humans knew every alley, every tunnel, every hiding spot. They struck from shadows, killed and vanished before the Krath could respond. But the Krath kept coming. For every soldier they lost, 10 more took their place. The human defenders fell back block by block, buying time with their lives. Maria fought alongside her people. She wasn't much of a soldier, but she could pull a trigger and follow orders. She saw friends die. She saw buildings where she had attended parties reduced to rubble. She saw the colony she had spent years building destroyed piece by piece. On the third day, Marcus found her in a makeshift command post. His arm was bandaged and his face was covered in dust and blood. "We've lost the northern half of the city," he reported. "The Krath are pushing toward the central district. We're running out of ammunition, running out of people." He paused. "Director, we've done everything we can. Maybe it's time to consider evacuation. Get as many people off-world as possible." Maria shook her head. "With what? Our transports are in orbit and we'd never get past their fleet." "No, Marcus, we stay. We fight. Then we die," he said quietly. "Yes," Maria agreed. "We die, but we make them remember us." That night, sitting in the ruins of what had been a school, Maria recorded a final message. She knew Earth wouldn't save them, but she wanted Earth to know what had happened. She wanted someone to remember. "This is Director Maria Chen of New Meridian Colony. If anyone is listening, this is probably my last message. The Krath have been attacking for 72 hours. We've lost more than 1,000 people. We're almost out of ammunition and supplies. The Galactic Council never came. Our neighbors never came. Earth never came." She paused, trying to keep her voice steady. "I don't know why we were abandoned. Maybe we're too far away. Maybe we're not important enough. Maybe the galaxy just doesn't care about one human colony on the edge of nowhere. But I want whoever hears this to know. We fought. We made them bleed. We showed them that humans don't surrender, don't break, don't quit. Every person who died here died standing up, fighting back, refusing to accept what the Krath wanted to do to us. Remember New Meridian. Remember that we were here. Remember that when no help came, we stood alone and we fought anyway." She ended the recording and sent it on all channels, hoping someone, somewhere would receive it. The fourth day brought the final assault. The Krath commander, apparently tired of the slow progress, ordered his fleet to begin orbital bombardment. Not enough to destroy the planet, but enough to break the remaining resistance. Maria and the surviving defenders watched as energy beams lanced down from orbit, turning buildings into molten craters. The underground shelters shook with each impact. Some collapsed, burying the civilians inside. The Krath ground forces advanced behind the bombardment, overwhelming the exhausted human defenders. Maria fired her rifle until it clicked empty, then picked up another from a fallen comrade. Around her, people fought with anything they had left: knives, tools, bare hands. In the command center, the few remaining officers monitored what was left of their sensors. The battle was over. They all knew it. The Krath would win. New Meridian would fall. The Krath commander broadcast one more time. "Humans, this is your final chance. Surrender now or face total annihilation. We will turn this entire planet to glass. You have 1 hour." Maria looked around at her people. They were bloodied, exhausted, and broken, but their eyes still held defiance. "No surrender," she said. "No surrender," they echoed. The Krath fleet moved into final bombardment position. Every ship powered up its weapons, ready to unleash hell on the planet below. Maria and her people prepared to die. Then someone shouted from the sensor station, "Director, contact at the edge of the system." Something big just dropped out of FTL. Maria ran to the station. The sensor screen showed a massive contact, larger than anything she had ever seen. The computer was struggling to classify it. "Is it more Krath?" she asked. "No, ma'am. The signature is different. It's broadcasting on human frequencies." The communication came through, clear and strong and absolutely certain. "This is Captain James Harker, of the Earth-Terran Navy ship Indomitable. Krath vessels, you are ordered to withdraw immediately from New Meridian and surrounding space. This is your only warning. Comply or be destroyed. Maria stared at the screen, unable to believe what she was hearing. Help had come. Earth had sent a warship. The Krath commander stared at his tactical display with confusion. The unknown vessel was unlike anything in his database. It was massive, easily 5 kilometers long, with a hull that seemed to absorb light. Weapon ports covered every surface. The power readings were staggering. Identify that ship, he ordered his crew. It matches no known Terran design in the Galactic Registry. His sensor officer replied. According to our intelligence, humans don't have capital ships of this size. Their largest vessels are patrol cruisers and light frigates. The commander's mandibles clicked in what passed for a laugh among his species. One ship. The humans send one ship against my fleet of nearly 200 vessels. He opened a communication channel. Human captain, your bravery is noted, but your judgment is poor. You face the might of the Krath Dominion. Withdraw now, or share the fate of this colony. The response came immediately. This is your final warning. Withdraw or be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to begin leaving the system. The Krath commander felt something he rarely experienced. Anger. How dare these primitive humans threaten him? The Krath had conquered dozens of worlds. They had crushed species far more advanced than humanity, and this single ship dared to challenge his entire fleet? Human arrogance will be your death, he broadcast. All ships target that vessel. Destroy it. 50 Krath warships broke formation and accelerated toward the Earthship. Their weapons powered up, ready to tear the newcomer apart. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain James Harker watched the Krath ships approach. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Behind him, his crew worked with calm efficiency at their stations. Weapon status? He asked. All systems hot and ready, Captain, his weapons officer reported. Railgun batteries charged. Missile tubes loaded.
Point defense grid active.
Directed energy weapons online. They're not backing down, sir, his tactical officer said. 50 ships inbound and accelerating. Harker nodded slowly. He had hoped the Krath would see reason. He had given them every chance to avoid what was coming. But some species only understood one language. Very well, he said quietly. Fire. The Indomitable opened up with everything it had. The main railgun batteries fired first. Massive projectiles, each weighing several tons, launched from magnetic accelerators at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic energy was astronomical. The first volley caught 3 Krath cruisers before they could react. The projectiles punched through their shields like they didn't exist, tore through armor and emerged from the other side, leaving expanding clouds of debris. The Krath fleet tried to scatter, but the Indomitable's targeting systems were too fast. Missiles streaked out from launch tubes, dozens at a time, each with its own guidance system and powerful fusion warhead. They twisted and turned, avoiding countermeasures, and slammed into Krath vessels with devastating force. The directed energy weapons carved beams of concentrated power through space. Where they touched Krath ships, armor melted and atmosphere explosively decompressed. The point defense grid created a sphere of destruction around the Indomitable, automatically tracking and destroying any incoming fire. The Krath pressed their attack, firing everything they had. Energy weapons and missiles filled space with light and death. But nothing reached the Earthship. The point defense was too good, the armor too strong, the shields too advanced. The Indomitable moved through the Krath fleet like a predator among prey. On New Meridian, Maria and her people watched the battle on their screens with disbelief. The single Earthship was destroying the Krath fleet piece by piece. Explosions bloomed in orbit like deadly flowers. Krath vessels that had seemed invincible hours ago were breaking apart, burning, dying. How is this possible? Marcus whispered. That's one ship against 50. It should be impossible. But it was happening. The Indomitable turned the tide of battle in minutes. The Krath commander watched his vanguard die and felt something new. Fear. This wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. He ordered his remaining ships to concentrate fire, to overwhelm the Earth vessel through sheer numbers. 100 Krath warships opened fire simultaneously. The amount of energy directed at the Indomitable could have destroyed a small moon. Surely no ship could withstand that. The Indomitable shuddered under the impact. Alarms blared on the bridge. But Captain Harker simply looked at his damage control officer and raised an eyebrow. Shields at 73%, the officer reported. Hull integrity uncompromised. All systems nominal. Harker smiled coldly. Return fire. Full spread. The Indomitable unleashed its full arsenal. Railguns fired in rotating sequences, creating a continuous stream of destruction. Missile launchers emptied their magazines. The directed energy weapons swept through space, cutting Krath ships in half. It was beautiful and terrible and utterly overwhelming. The Krath fleet broke. Ships that had been advancing moments ago suddenly reversed course, trying to flee. But the Indomitable was faster. It moved with impossible grace for something so large, cutting off escape routes, herding the Krath vessels like cattle. Captain Harker's voice rang out across all frequencies. Attention, Krath forces. Your fleet is defeated. Your ground troops are cut off. You came here believing no one would stop you. You believed humanity was weak. You were wrong. I offer you one chance. All ships and ground forces surrender immediately. Your wounded will be treated. Your survivors will be repatriated. Refuse and I will destroy every Krath vessel in this system. Choose now. The Krath commander looked at his tactical display. 3/4 of his fleet was gone. The rest were damaged, running out of ammunition and facing an enemy they couldn't hurt. His ground forces on New Meridian had no way off the planet. He had been so certain of victory. How had it all gone so wrong? We surrender, he transmitted, his voice broken. Krath forces, cease fire. We surrender. Across the system, Krath ships powered down their weapons. On New Meridian's surface, Krath soldiers dropped their arms and waited for whatever came next. The Battle of New Meridian was over. It had lasted less than 4 hours. Captain Harker stood and straightened his uniform. Communications inform New Meridian that the system is secure. Deploy Marine units to accept the Krath surrender and provide assistance to the colony. Medical teams to the surface immediately. He paused, looking at the devastation on his screens. And someone get me Director Chen. I think we owe her an explanation. On the planet's surface, Maria Chen stood in the ruins of her command center and stared up at the sky. The massive Earthship hung in orbit, blocking out the stars. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. Around her, people were crying, laughing, hugging each other. They had survived. Against all odds, against all logic, they had survived. Maria's communicator chimed. A voice came through, professional and warm. Director Chen, this is Captain Harker of the Indomitable. I apologize for cutting it so close. Permission to come aboard? I think we have a lot to discuss. Maria found herself laughing and crying at the same time. Permission granted, Captain. And thank you. Thank you for coming. Ma'am, Harker replied. You're human. We protect our own. Always. The Indomitable settled into orbit above New Meridian, a steel guardian that had arrived when all hope seemed lost. The colony was battered, broken, and bloodied. But it stood. And now, for the first time in days, its people believed they would see tomorrow. Earth had sent a Dreadnought. And everything had changed. Captain James Harker walked through the ruins of New Meridian, with Director Maria Chen at his side. Earth Marines in powered armor secured the streets while medical teams treated the wounded. Overhead, shuttles moved constantly between the surface and the Indomitable, bringing supplies and evacuating the seriously injured. Maria had cleaned up as best she could, but she still wore the same dirty clothes she had fought in. Her hands shook slightly as she walked. 4 days of combat and terror didn't fade quickly. I need to understand, she said. Where did that ship come from? According to every database in the galaxy, Earth doesn't have anything like the Indomitable. Our largest vessels are supposed to be patrol cruisers. Harker glanced at her. That information is correct. Or it was until about 6 hours ago when we revealed ourselves. He stopped walking and turned to face her directly. Director, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. Earth has been building a secret military fleet for the past 30 years. Maria stared at him. 30 years? But why? Why keep it secret? Because of what happened at Centauri, Harker said quietly. You were young then. Maybe you don't remember. 23 years ago, the Centauri colony was attacked by raiders. They called for help. The Galactic Council debated for 3 weeks while people died. By the time they agreed to send assistance, there was no one left to save. Maria did remember. It had been one of the worst disasters in human colonial history. 15,000 people lost. Earth asked the Council for permission to build a defensive fleet. Harker continued. They refused, said humans were too aggressive, too warlike. They said it would upset the galactic balance. So Earth decided to build that fleet anyway, in secret. The Indomitable is one of 12 dreadnoughts. We have 57 heavy cruisers, over 200 destroyers and frigates, and hundreds of support vessels. Everything built in hidden shipyards in the outer solar system. Everything kept completely secret until now. Maria felt dizzy. 12 dreadnoughts? That's enough firepower to challenge any major power in the galaxy. That's the idea, Harker said. Earth learned a hard lesson. In this galaxy, you protect yourself or you die. The Council won't save you. Your neighbors won't save you. You stand alone, or you fall. A Marine approached and saluted. Sir, Admiral Torres has arrived in system. She requests your presence aboard the Avalon. Harker nodded. Tell the Admiral I'll shuttle up within the hour. He looked at Maria. You should come too. This concerns your colony's future. An hour later, Maria found herself aboard the Avalon, Earth's newest and largest flagship. It made the Indomitable look small, and the Indomitable was enormous. The ship was a floating city, with facilities for 10,000 crew and enough firepower to level planets. Admiral Rebecca Torres was waiting in her conference room. She was a stern woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and iron-gray hair. She studied Maria for a long moment before speaking. Director Chen, I've read your reports. You and your people fought well. We fought desperately, Maria corrected, because no one was coming to help us. Torres nodded slowly. You're angry. You have a right to be. Your distress call reached Earth 4 days before we arrived. We could have been here sooner, but we were still 3 systems away, and jumping in immediately would have revealed our fleet's existence before we were ready. How many people died because you weren't ready? Maria asked, her voice cold. Too many, Torres admitted. But if we had revealed ourselves too early, before our fleet was complete, the consequences could have been catastrophic. The major powers might have united against us. They might have destroyed Earth itself to prevent us from becoming a threat. She brought up a holographic display showing Earth's space. Hidden stations appeared, massive shipyards, defense platforms, weapon satellites. For 30 years, every resource we could spare went into this. We built it all in secret under the galaxy's nose. The Galactic Council thought Earth was weak, backward, content to be a minor player. We let them think that while we prepared. New Meridian forced our hand, Torres continued. Your distress call was broadcast on every channel. The whole galaxy was watching. If we did nothing, we proved we were as weak as they thought. If we acted, we had to commit fully. So we sent the Indomitable and revealed our capabilities. Maria processed this. So we were a test case? A way to announce Earth's new military strength? No, Torres said firmly. You were human beings in danger. We came because you're ours. The revelation was a consequence, not the goal. She paused. But I won't lie to you. The timing was politically useful. A junior officer entered. Admiral, incoming transmissions from the Galactic Council. Multiple species requesting emergency conferences. The Valerian Consortium is demanding explanations. The Andromedan Union wants immediate talks. Torres smiled without humor. Tell them we'll respond when we're ready. They made us wait while colonies died. They can wait while we secure our people. The officer left. Torres turned back to Maria. Director, New Meridian is about to become very important. Earth needs forward operating bases outside Sol system. Your colony is in a strategic position. We want to build a naval station here if you'll accept it. Maria thought about her battered colony, her dead friends, the children in the shelters. What do my people get in return? Protection, resources for rebuilding, priority access to Earth's industrial capacity, a seat in Earth's new colonial parliament, and the guarantee that what happened here will never happen again. There's going to be a colonial parliament? Director, everything is changing. The old system is broken. We're building something new. Earth and its colonies united strong enough to stand alone. Will New Meridian be part of it? Maria didn't need to think long. Yes, but I want it on record. We fought alone because the galaxy abandoned us. We remember that. All of us remember. Good, Torres said. Don't forget. None of us should forget what it feels like to be abandoned. Over the next week, the galaxy reacted to Earth's revelation with shock and panic. The Galactic Council convened emergency sessions. Multiple species demanded that Earth disarm. Others saw opportunity and requested defense treaties. Captain Harker's broadcast from the battle had gone viral across the galaxy. His words, "You came here believing no one would stop you. You were wrong," became a rallying cry. Smaller species, that had suffered under the Council's indifference, began asking why they shouldn't seek Earth's protection instead. The Krath Dominion, humiliated by their defeat, made threatening noises about revenge. Earth's response was swift and brutal. When Krath forces attacked a mining station near Proxima, 3 dreadnoughts appeared within hours. The Krath fleet was annihilated. The survivors were released with a message: attack any human target anywhere and face overwhelming retaliation. The Krath stopped making threats. On New Meridian, construction began on the naval station. Earth sent engineers, materials, and credits. The colony's dead were honored with a memorial that Earth Marines and local militia built together. The names of the 3 patrol boat crews who had bought the colony crucial time were inscribed first. Maria stood at the memorial's dedication, looking out over a colony that was slowly healing. Captain Harker stood beside her. "Things are different now," she said. "The galaxy knows Earth won't be pushed around anymore." "Yes," Harker agreed, "but it comes with responsibility. We have power now. What we do with it matters." Maria thought about that. "What do you think Earth will do?" Harker was quiet for a moment. "I think Earth remembers what it's like to call for help and hear nothing but silence. I think we'll never let that happen to anyone else, human or otherwise. Not if we can prevent it." "That's a big promise, Captain." "It is," Harker agreed. "But it's the right one." Above them, the Indomitable hung in orbit, a guardian and a promise. The galaxy had changed. Earth had announced itself not with diplomacy or negotiation, but with overwhelming force used in defense of its own. The old powers were still adjusting to this new reality, and New Meridian, the forgotten colony that no one would help, became a symbol. It was the place where humanity had said enough to being ignored. The place where everything changed. The place where Earth proved it would never abandon its people again. 3 months after the battle, New Meridian looked completely different. The ruins had been cleared and new buildings rose in their place. The naval station in orbit was half complete, already hosting a permanent Earth fleet presence. Supply ships came and went daily, bringing materials and people to help rebuild. Maria Chen stood in the new colonial government building, preparing for her first address as New Meridian senator to Earth's colonial parliament. She wore formal clothes now instead of the combat fatigues she had worn during the siege, but she kept her old rifle mounted on the wall of her office, a reminder of what they had survived. Her assistant entered. "Senator, we're receiving reports from Earth. The Galactic Council has agreed to grant humanity a permanent seat with full voting rights." Maria smiled. "They had no choice. After Earth demonstrated it doesn't need their permission to act, they realized keeping us out was pointless. There's more. 7 minor species have requested mutual defense treaties with Earth. The Talarian Federation, the Brintic Collective, and 5 others. They're all species that have been ignored or threatened by larger powers. What's Earth's response?" Admiral Torres is reviewing each request personally. "She wants to be certain we're not overextending ourselves." The assistant paused. "Senator, Earth is becoming a major power. Some people are worried we're moving too fast." Maria thought about the memorial outside, where the names of New Meridian's dead were carved in stone. "Maybe. But I remember what it felt like when no help came. If we can prevent others from feeling that way, we should." The communication system chimed. It was Captain Harker. "Senator Chen, I thought you'd want to know. The Indomitable is being reassigned. We're heading out to patrol the frontier regions. When do you leave?" 2 days. "But there's something else. We received a distress call this morning. It's not from a human colony." Maria's interest sharpened. "What species?" "Valerian. One of their mining colonies is under attack by pirates. They're requesting assistance. The Galactic Council is still debating whether to respond, of course. There was dry humor in his voice. Earth Command wants to know if we should intervene. The Valerians didn't help us, Maria said. They cited their non-aggression pact with the Krath and did nothing while we fought alone. I know. That's why this decision matters. Do we only help humans, or do we help anyone who asks? Maria walked to her window and looked out over the city. She saw humans and aliens working together to rebuild. She saw Earth Marines training alongside local militia. She saw a future that was different from the past. Help them, she said. The Valerians were wrong not to help us, but we shouldn't make the same mistake. If we have the power to save lives, we should use it. I was hoping you'd say that, Harker replied. Indomitable is the closest ship. We can be there in 12 hours. Captain, when you arrive, make sure you broadcast on all channels. I want the galaxy to see what you do. I want them to understand that Earth remembers what it's like to be abandoned, and we won't let it happen to others. Understood, Senator. Harker out. The news of Earth's intervention spread quickly. A human dreadnought had saved a Valerian colony that their own government was still debating how to help. The symbolism was powerful and deliberate. Earth was establishing a new precedent. Need help? Earth responds. Not in weeks or months, but in hours. The political implications rippled through the galaxy. The Galactic Council, which had taken weeks to debate helping New Meridian, was embarrassed. Smaller species saw that Earth's protection was real and immediate. The major powers realized they were being outmaneuvered not through diplomacy, but through direct action. On New Meridian, the memorial held a special ceremony. The families of the fallen gathered while Maria gave a speech. We lost over 1,000 people in the battle for our colony. They fought knowing no help was coming. They fought anyway, because that's what humans do. We don't quit. We don't surrender. We stand and fight even when the odds are impossible. She paused, looking at the names carved in stone. These people bought us time. Time for the indomitable to arrive. Time for Earth to act. They saved this colony with their sacrifice. But their legacy is bigger than New Meridian. Because of what happened here, Earth revealed its strength. Because Earth revealed its strength, the galaxy had to acknowledge us as equals. And because we're now equals, we can ensure what happened to us never happens to anyone else. The galaxy abandoned us, we remember. But we choose not to become like them. We choose to be better. When someone calls for help, we answer. When someone is in danger, we act. That's our promise written in the blood of our fallen. We will never forget what it feels like to be alone, and we will never let others suffer that fate if we can prevent it. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence, followed by a flyover from Earth fighters based at the new orbital station. It was both memorial and demonstration. New Meridian remembered its dead, and the galaxy saw the strength that protected them now. In Earth's halls of government, the colonial parliament met for the first time. Representatives from New Meridian, Proxima, Alpha Centauri, and a dozen other colonies gathered to shape humanity's future. They debated fleet deployments, defense budgets, diplomatic strategies, and the responsibilities that came with power. Admiral Torres addressed them in a closed session. We have revealed ourselves to the galaxy. We have shown our military strength. Now comes the harder part, deciding what kind of power we want to be. We can be isolationist, using our fleet only to protect human interests. We can be imperial, taking what we want by force. Or we can be something different, something the galaxy hasn't seen before. A power that protects not out of self-interest, but because it's right. The Parliament debated for days. In the end, they passed the Meridian Doctrine, named after the colony that had changed everything. Earth would maintain military supremacy. Earth would protect all human colonies without exception. And Earth would extend protection to any species or colony that requested it, regardless of past relationships. With one condition: they had to genuinely need help and be unable to help themselves. The doctrine was controversial. Some thought it overreached. Others thought it didn't go far enough. But it represented something important: Earth's commitment to never let what happened at New Meridian happen again. To anyone. 6 months after the battle, Captain Harker stood on the Indomitable's bridge. His ship was on patrol near the frontier, watching over a section of space that had once been lawless and dangerous. Pirates and raiders had learned to avoid Earth vessels. The Dreadnoughts had a reputation now. A distress call came through. It was garbled, barely coherent, but the meaning was clear. Help needed. The source was a colony ship, species unknown, under attack by unknown hostiles. They were 2 hours away at maximum speed. Harker's executive officer looked at him. "Sir, they're not human. We don't have treaty obligations. What are your orders?" Harker remembered Maria Chen standing in the ruins of her colony, remembered the memorial to the fallen, remembered Earth's promise to be better than those who had abandoned them. Helm, set course for the distress beacon, maximum speed. Weapons, prepare for combat. He opened communications to the threatened ship. Unknown vessel. This is Captain Harker of Earthship Indomitable. We have received your distress call. Hold on. Help is coming. The bridge crew moved efficiently to execute his orders. No one questioned the decision. This was who they were now. This was what Earth did. The Indomitable jumped to hyperspace, racing toward a battle to save people they had never met, for no reason except that it was right. On New Meridian, Maria Chen stood at the memorial and placed flowers at the base. She did this every week, remembering the friends she had lost. But now when she looked up at the orbital station at the Earth ships patrolling the system, she felt something she hadn't felt during the siege. Hope. The galaxy had changed. The old order, where might made right and the weak were abandoned, was crumbling. Earth had proven that being powerful and being compassionate weren't contradictory. You could be strong enough to protect yourself and still choose to protect others. It wasn't perfect. There would be challenges ahead, conflicts and complications. But for the first time in galactic history, smaller species had a protector who answered distress calls not with debate, but with action. And it all started here, on a forgotten colony that refused to surrender, that fought alone until help finally arrived in the form of a dreadnought that altered everything. Maria touched one of the names on the memorial. "We remember," she whispered. "And because we remember, we'll never let it happen again." Above her, ships moved through the sky. Earth ships, humanity's ships, carrying a simple message to the galaxy. No one fights alone anymore. Not on our watch. The age of abandonment was over. Earth had seen to that. The galaxy was still adjusting to this new reality, but one thing was certain. Things would never be the same. Humanity had announced itself not with words, but with action. Not with threats, but with protection. Not with conquest, but with compassion backed by overwhelming force. And somewhere on the frontier, the Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace, weapons hot, ready to prove once again that when Earth said help is coming, it meant it. The message was clear. Call for help, and Earth answers. Attack the helpless, and Earth responds.